Hey y'all, I'm Shalon Burris and welcome to Sip and Slay with Shaloncè, where we live, lash, and libate through real beauty conversations. Alright, today we're talking about authority. Not the loud kind, not the performative kind. I'm talking about the kind of authority that walks into the room and everybody already knows what time it is. The kind that doesn't raise its voice. The kind that doesn't negotiate standards. The kind that doesn't need to repeat itself. Because real leadership sounds controlled. It's the fierce stare. It's the pause. It's the hesitation. It's the energy that says everything without saying a single word. Like, for example, smoke doesn't need to make noise, but everybody knows when it's in the air. And today we're talking about that kind of authority, that kind of leadership. And since we're talking about smoke, let's talk about this drink here. We are sipping on today La Jefa. And I don't mean your Jefa, but La Jefa like boss. It's the kind of drink that reminds you of smoky, bold confidence. This drink doesn't ask for permission to exit. It doesn't even try to be sweet for approval. It shows up, it holds the room, and lets everybody else adjust to it. And honestly, that's the exact way authority should feel. So let's go ahead and get her ready for the catwalk. Como siempre, as always, you can find what you need for this phase of drinks in your essential list. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with La Jefa, and that means boss, and this is how we bring her to life. Let's get started by preparing a pink Himalayan salt on half of a rim of a heat-safe lowball or mug. Next, we want to use 1/4 ounce of fresh grapefruit juice. We want to add 1/2 ounce of prickly pear syrup to a small saucepan. Remember, we want to warm gently on low heat, not bringing it to a boil. To see a little bit of steam, go ahead and remove that from the heat. You can go ahead and stir in 1 ounce of mezcal and 1 ounce of dark rum, your choice of brand. Next, you want to go ahead and pour it into the prepared glass. Remember, no water, no dilution, and it will give you a full body experience. The flavor identity, she's warm, steady, and intentional, not too loud, not rushed. This is the drink you pour when you've mastered restraint and don't need to prove a thing. Enjoy. All right, y'all, let's talk about something that's been happening everywhere lately. Certificate culture. Everybody's collecting titles. Everyone's collecting a badge that they think signal authority. But leadership doesn't come from paper, and paper doesn't equal presence. Just because somebody has a certificate doesn't actually mean they are certified or understand the craft. Just because they took the class. I mean, you can get a certificate with a D, and you can get a certificate earning your grade with an A. So just because a person takes the class doesn't mean that they can apply the knowledge that they just obtained. And just because someone can demonstrate the steps does not mean that they have authority to lead people. Some people collect certificates the way people collect filters because it looks good. But when real pressure shows up, that's when the difference speaks for itself and it becomes very obvious. So when a client reaction happens, when the technique fails, when something shifts outside of the script, that's when presence shows up. Or it can actually disappear. Because real authority doesn't panic in those situations. Real authority takes a stance and it gets quiet, it observes, and it adjusts. Authority will respond with control. That's the difference between somebody who has memorized a technique and someone who actually understands the structure behind the technique. And seriously, the same thing happens in relationships. You know those situations where somebody says, hey, we're not going to put labels on this, but somehow you're still doing the work that requires a label. You're showing up, you're holding it down, you're staying loyal, you're doing everything that fits that role, but without the title. And that's a certificate without authority. The responsibility exists, the effort exists, but the structure doesn't. And the same way fake certificates expose weak execution, fake relationships expose weak bonding. Authority does not play pretend. It is the structure. And if the structure isn't real, the role isn't real. And real leaders, they don't participate in anything felonious. Confusion is not a part of the plan. They establish clarity and then they stand on it. Now let's talk about the other side of authority, because leadership isn't just about how you enter a room. It's about what happens once someone tests you. People always test structure. In business, leadership, and in relationships, they test your patience, they test your boundaries, they test how serious you really are. And the moment you hesitate is the moment you start having to explain way too much. The moment you start negotiating your own standards, the energy in the room starts to change, because strength isn't about being loud. Strength is consistency. Strength is saying the same thing today that you said yesterday and meaning it both times. That's what enforcement actually looks like. It's not drama, it's not arguments, not emotional speeches, just clarity and then action. Now, bring that same concept into a relationship. The healthiest relationships move exactly like that. Healthy relationships are not loud, they're not chaotic, they're not constantly renegotiating the basics. Real love moves quietly, it's consistent, it's respectful, it shows up the same way whether the room is full or whether the room is completely empty. Respect reveals itself when nobody is watching. That's when you know the foundation is real. Because fake love looks exactly like fake leadership. Lots of talk, lots of confusion, lots of emotional labor trying to make things make sense and make something feel official when it never actually was established. But when respect is real, the structure holds its own. The expectations are understood. The boundaries don't need explanation or reminders. That's authority. That's leadership. And that's the difference between someone playing the role and someone who actually earned the title. And smoke doesn't yell, but it lets everybody know something powerful is brewing. This toast is for the leaders who don't perform authority, they embody it. The ones who enforce standards without noise, and they move with confidence even when no one's watching. Cheers to quiet, powerful, and a dangerous calm. Now next week, we are closing out phase 3 with the Renton Reverie. Shout out to my hometown 425. And we're going to be talking about healing, reflection, and what it really means to rebuild with intention. Catch us live on Instagram, TikTok, and catch us on the replay on YouTube. Sip and slay, babe.